However, I'm still confused as to why they chose to lie and try to make me a legend when the real heroics of my fellow soldiers that day were legendary. The bottom line is the American people are capable of determining their own ideals for heroes, and they don't need to be told elaborate lies. My hero is my brother Greg, who continues to serve his country today. My hero is my friend Lori Paestua, who died in Iraq but set an example for a generation of Hopi and Native American women and little girls everywhere about the contributions just one soldier can make. My hero is every American who says, "My country needs me," and answers that call to fight. I had the good fortune and opportunity to come home and to tell the truth. Many soldiers, like Pat Tillman, they did not have that opportunity. The truth of war is not always easy. The truth is always more heroic than the hype. Thank you.
You have a more diplomatic approach. You bring in information, and you've actually gone beyond 9/11 into everything else, surrounding the same people, but you present it in a much easier format to digest, I think. And I think it's more entertaining. And I always look forward to that drum beat and that dude comes on, says, "Breaker, breaker, 1-9, I'm in outer space with a microphone." I'm ready. 7 hours, maybe not, but I'm ready.
Right on, man. I mean, that's the idea. The idea is to get people to kind of repurpose their leisure time, and once they find some place where they're getting something better in return for their investment of time, I think people will stick with it. And it's not that I was intentionally making each podcast longer and longer, but some of these ideas were bigger, and I didn't want to leave certain things out. And it was also an exercise in building the attention span of the audience. And I think that's something that can go a long way in reversing all the negative effects we've been experiencing as a world community. Thank you for tuning in. You're participating in 9/11 Synchronicity. I'm your host, Richard Grove. And you can find additional information about this podcast as well as documentation of topics we discuss herein by visiting 8thEstate.com and 911synchronicity.com.
Ironically broadcast from Hartford, Connecticut, the insurance capital of the world, you're listening to 9/11 Synchronicity.
Breaker, breaker, 1-9. I'm in outer space with a microphone.
This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything from clothing to equipment, weapons, training simulations, anything we need.
We have the power to change things. The only group capable of stopping the United States government is the people of the United States. There are several reasons 9/11 was allowed to happen. Allowed to happen by who? By our government. 7 is not hit by a plane. Imagine what kind of human evidence from the dead in those buildings. Have you ever heard of a company called Kroll Associates? Kroll Associates is a global securities and intelligence firm. Publicly traded and privately managed, Kroll specializes in large building security and industrial espionage. In 1993, Kroll got a contract to manage security at the World Trade Center. They held that position up until the moment the towers fell. And lest we forget, Jerome Hauer. Jerome Hauer. In an investigation of 9/11, Hauer's name comes up more than anybody else's. As a managing director of Kroll in New York City, Hauer was responsible for doing security at the World Trade Center. He's a well-known advisor to the Council on Foreign Relations, formerly worked for the National Institute of Health, and is currently the head of the Office of Public Health Preparedness. And on the morning of 9/11, just as the attacks were happening, Hauer instructed the entire White House staff to go on Cipro, the anti-anthrax drug. Now, how did he know anthrax was going to become an issue? Well, as fate would have it, Hauer worked in 1999 with Stephen Hatfield, the prime suspect in the anthrax attacks at the Scientific Applications International Corporation, the SAIC. This company, the SAIC, was awarded a huge biodefense contract after 9/11. Hatfield, a well-known friend of Jerome Howard, was working on the military-grade anthrax program at U.S. AMRID, Fort Detrick, Maryland. Howard was well aware of the U.S. AMRID project in Maryland. And then there's Strategic, formerly called Securicom. Strategic also had a contract to do security at the World Trade Center. Securicom also had security contracts with Dulles International Airport and United Airlines. Now remember, United had 2 planes crash on 9/11. And one of those planes came from Dulles. Now an interesting note about Securicom is that from 1993 to 2000, one of its principal shareholders was a man by the name of Marvin Bush. Marvin Bush. Marvin Bush. Marvin Bush, the president's younger brother. Bush's younger brother doing security in the World Trade Center is something that needs to be seriously investigated. In 1991, the Kuwaiti government hired Kroll to investigate Saddam Hussein's finances. In 2002, Kroll was given the massive responsibility of reorganizing Enron. Through 97 and 98, Kroll oversaw the elections of the Teamsters Union. Kroll is tied to the FBI as well. The director of the FBI during Waco and the first World Trade Center bombing was a man by the name of William Sessions. Now, when he left the Bureau, he became a shareholder of Kroll. And just following 9/11, Kroll was tapped by the LAPD to monitor all counterterrorism efforts in Los Angeles. Kroll really gets around.